This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so as always, everything we're going to be talking about is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. So before it gets started, I just want to go over this one real quick. ZSA and beautiful move that came back up. That we had Ask Prince that came in 5, and we know we have Ask Prince at 550, 6, and 650. From last week. But just even if you weren't paying attention, you didn't know what went on last week. I mean, this thing started coming back up. You could see the volume came out of nowhere. And this is something that you really want to look at because it's such a huge variable. The fact that the stock is just not trading and then someone jumps and starts buying and we see that big volume come in out of nowhere tells us that there's someone specifically that's looking into it. It's not like it had some consistent volume and then we started coming up to this 5. It literally happened out of nowhere. So beautiful Ask Prince came in at 5. We pulled back and then just a beautiful price action trigger with consistent volume that came back up to push us over that 5 level. So now we went into our consolidation. Remember our variables that we look for in these cheaper stocks. It held in that consolidation the entire time, even when volume pretty much went to almost nothing. And now we have Ask Prince at 550. So we do see a few riders that came in at 550 on that bid side, but the first to the table was those Ask Prince. So I'm going to be expecting a little bit more of a pullback than we saw in the first place before we're going to look for this thing to really be able to make a move. Start with 25 cents. With these cheaper stocks, you can't really go wrong that way. So based off the prints that we had there, 6 would be a logical place to start with that 50 cents, but starting with 25 cents, you can't really go wrong. And remember, what we're looking for is 60 cents to each dollar. So even, 25 cents over 50 cents, it's very close. It's right in that area. So just a spot to start with, but we're going to be expecting to see this thing make a move as well. And then let's go to CIFS. This is just an absolutely beautiful trade. It's funny because Pritesh told us this morning that he had a feeling that we're going to see this thing kind of move up all day long and then go into consolidation, but continue on its move. And that's pretty much what we've been seeing. So we're beautiful buying above that 3 level. We know that we have that buying at 3 itself as well. If we come back to earlier, you can see at 315, we just had a really 131 beautiful ask burst that came in from pretty much 313 to 320. So another one where the variables just look absolutely phenomenal. We have the buying. We know that someone's building a position in it. And even after volume goes to nothing, we can see it's still holding above, not only above that print line, but in this consolidation. So this is another one that we're going to be watching this afternoon to be able to hold. Next one is KHC. So KHC, we have, oops, wrong spot. KHC, we have some absolutely phenomenal bid prints that came in at that 34.50 level. One thing we have to understand is the personality of a stock. So when we see, for instance, when we come over here and we come underneath that print line to the 350 level, it didn't hit, but we got a bunch of selling coming in. You can see the pullback just isn't really that much. Even coming down over here, 34.75 didn't really hit, but with the selling that we saw coming in earlier this morning about 940. And it doesn't really give that large of a pullback. So overall, do I think at some point it's going to want to test the 35 level? Probably, but at the same time, you can't really expect that much because it's just showing us that's not what it does. And we have to pay close attention to that personality. So overall, 34, obviously we have not hit yet. 34.06, we ended up getting a little bit of a trigger back up. It wasn't a great trigger at all. So it actually showed a long trade pushing into that 34 level, not being able to actually give us any type of controlling prints. I'm still going to keep an eye on it just because that position that we saw at 34.50 on that bid side tells us that someone needs to make a little bit more money than basically about 45 cents. So we need to see a little bit more that comes back into there, but still going to be paying very, very close attention. Now, let's go over a few other things. IQ. Now, IQ, is there really anything that's a trade right now that shows us, any great variables? Not really, but at the same time, 27's a bit mixed, but overall, we really got some nice selling that came in. On the higher side of things, you're talking about almost 270,000 shares that came in to push back down. From that selling, we saw this thing kind of pull back up. So it's kind of stuck in this consolidation. I don't expect much of it, but overall, it's kind of screaming out that it wants to come back and come down to test that 25 level based off of everything that we see. Now, is that going to happen today? I highly, highly doubt it. It's just not really getting too much movement. Our volume per minute is 30,000 shares. It's just not really that much, but something that certainly I'm going to keep on my watch list. It's not going to make the the afternoon list just based off the way that it's trading. But at the same time, something that I do want to pay close attention to. Another one for the afternoon, Baba. So we've been seeing some nice buying, especially like in Facebook, and Apple. A lot of these stocks are kind of pulling back from some really nice buying that we saw coming back into them. But the biggest thing right here, we could see 183.50. We had some real nice ask prints that came in. We have a double top that's right here. So after it's pulled back from this 183.50, and there's no chance that it's going to be able to hold below there, because when you have new buying that comes in at highs, what that's telling us is that we need to that person's going to have to make more money. Now remember, Baba has a bigger range. Today it's only moved $3. Everything's kind of even our everyday stocks. I mean, if we go to Facebook, you can see Facebook had some beautiful buying coming back into it, but it's only moved $3 on its average of 443. So there is a lot more room to go in, for these stocks to move. If we look at Apple, it's the same type of deal. Our everyday stocks, Apple's only moved $1.92 today, which is absolutely crazy. But what that tells us, if we look over here, remember what we were talking about last week with the SPY and the market and everything else we see. You can see this volume. The lower this volume gets, the sooner that we're going to end up seeing this thing break out and get a real big volume bar that comes back in. So these stocks, they're just our everyday stocks are pretty much waiting for that. There's some type of big day that's going to be coming in the very near future. Okay, so if we're a longer term trader, if we're an options trader holding a few days, a swing trader, any type of longer term trade, make sure find a stock with really nice prints. Okay, and I would take my position in that, because we do know that we need volume to come in. The stock market is not going anywhere. So when we see something coming down like this, especially Apple's never going to stop trading. Okay, I mean, it's more than likely the government will we won't have a government anymore before the company Apple itself stops trading. So if looking at that, we know the lower it gets, the sooner it's going to be before we get that really nice burst that comes within that volume pattern. So keep an eye on our everyday stocks. And like I said, we're going to have some type of really interesting day that's going to be coming in the very near future. But other than that, not really anything too great out there. One thing I do want to talk about, though, is NIO. This thing is just unbelievable. Somebody is building a very, very big position in this, and they've been doing it over months. I mean, the first time we came up to 8, then we pull back under, then we come back up, then we pull back under. But it looks like we're getting to a point where they're going to be releasing it, I would say, fairly soon, because of how much we're seeing. So the fact that it went down based off of all buying prints. Then we pushed up to 9, more ask prints, stock falls back down. So overall, this is something, certainly for longer term traders, longer term positions, I am extremely, extremely bullish. Earnings next week, even better. Beautiful. I see it, even if it didn't have earnings, could care less, but that makes a lot of sense, because that catalyst should show us a lot, and someone's building a huge position. So just make sure that you keep this one in mind, especially for those longer term traders. I mean, I wouldn't take a week. I mean, obviously when I trade options, and you guys know this, the least option, the least amount of time I'll ever trade is at least a month. But overall, I mean, it's incredible the amount of money that we're seeing coming back into this. So certainly something to pay very close to. Other than that, that's pretty much about it. Everything else, oh no, GE. I want to go over GE real quick. So I just want to show you what this setup looks like. And I posted it in the chat room before, but when we come back in, you can see we have this print line right here at 1098, and it's actually a double print line. It's 1098 and maybe 1097. It's irrelevant, but underneath, look at this actual setup. So we had huge buying at 12, and that was going to bring us down. This is the print line that we're going to look for, 1125. So it hit our price target, but we keep seeing more selling coming into it. And if we look at the actual movement that it made this morning coming back up, it was really early. So you wouldn't expect a ton of volume, but it really went up on really low volume. And when you look at something like this, you can see underneath that print line to pretty much this support level right here, let's just call it 1025. It's lower than that, but we'll call that as our price target. It's just got a lot of room that has nothing stopping it to go back down there. Now, is this going to be anything that we're going to be trading in the afternoon? No. I mean, it's just a very, very slow stock. It's moved 80 cents today out of the average of 38, so I don't really see too much more happening, but that is another spot that I'm going to be looking at very closely to come back down, because if you look over here, this is one of those stocks, it's very cheap, and if you're going to trade it, you could trade a ton of shares. I mean, if you put a 100,000 share order out there on limit, you'd probably get hit without even really needing to build into a position. So something to certainly keep in mind, and just keep an eye on. Like I said, nothing this afternoon, but it's certainly a beautiful setup that came in on this minute chart. All right, guys. Now, anything else out there that I missed? Sure, that's about it. I went through the scanners before. There's not really too much going on out there. Another one that we might want to look at is Facebook. Facebook has some beautiful buying up here at that 165.50, 166. It did not hit 165.95, and that's what kind of brought it back down, but it fell back down on buying. And Mario says unit, so it's probably a stock that's making a beautiful move. And yes, it is. Okay, so coming up, let's see. Did we get prints at 950? I would have to assume so, based off of its move. Not really. Beautiful prints at 9, but not much at 950. But underneath, yeah, great. I mean, it's a great stock. Right now, it's going to be a little bit, it's going to be hard to chase. So when I see a stock moving like this, we talked about it this morning, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the stock to push to 950, ask prints, pull back, and then get in. Or the stock to, especially 10. Remember, unit 10 is just a gigantic psychological number for these cheaper stocks. So at 10, that's going to tell us where we're going to be able to get an entry. Or for, if you might want to try to see if you can get shares, because 10 is going to be a very hard level to break. It's also going to play a lot of games there, so you want to certainly pay close attention to that. The first entry that looks perfect at 10 is probably going to be some type of false breakout or something like that before it would actually move if we do get the buying that came up there. Was KHC covered already? If so, I'll rewatch and upload. I had meeting work. Yes, we did go over KHC. Basically, just in a nutshell, small pullback. Has had small pullbacks based off its personality, but beautiful selling at 34.50. Too much selling for it only to move the amount that it is. There's got to be more room for it. All right, guys. So also MRNS. Let's take a look. Yeah, most certainly. It's definitely something to come back in. Do you know where their prints at 450? I mean, that's basically all the cheaper stocks. I treat them exactly. Yeah. So we have ask prints at 450, pulling back from there. Not as much as we like to see, but definitely, yeah, 100%. I'll throw that one on there as well because it certainly has a possibility. But just remember, a stock like this, you see how the volume goes to nothing. If this stock is going to break up above, okay, it's going to come out of nowhere. We're going to get a huge volume spike. So if you're going to be able to trade a stock like this, you want to already have your order put in somewhere, because if it breaks up above 450 on really high volume, it's going to go very quickly. So just keep that in mind. A harder stock to trade when it's going to come out of nowhere than a stock that you can see that's building up for something and gives you a nice trigger. So just keep that in mind. CIFS is getting some nice volume. Just keep definitely, I mean, it's obviously already on the list. But overall, I think that is about it. All right, one thing that I do want to go over and talk about is Trader of the Week. So we've had a million things going over the past few weeks, and I know things are going and just have been kind of flying by, but Trader of the Week is starting this week. We will be picking it at the end of Friday and pretty sure going to be announcing Monday. I want to give you guys the classifications, okay? Number one thing is going to be participation. Participation is key, because Trader of the Week, not only is it about learning, which is going to be another one. So development and progression is a big point. All right, we're not going to be basing it off money, okay? Because trading, it's not, I don't want to say it's not a sprint, but there's a lot that goes into trading that isn't just about the money that's being made. All right, so the participation, the more that you participate, especially in the chat room, not only do you learn things quicker, but you also are able to not only help other people out, but it helps you kind of ingrain it into your mind when you actually type it out or you actually say it, or in actually thinking. So participation is going to be huge. Development progression. All right, there's no reason that a brand new trader can't win Trader of the Week. All right, so if we see somebody that comes from really not knowing anything to really progressing, that's going to give a lot of points coming into it. Okay, team value, that's a lot that has to do with participation, but it's also, how many trades are we giving out? All right, one of the reasons that I actually teach, one of the reasons that I started ATC is because the knowledge sitting in my head doesn't help anybody unless I put it out there. All right, if I see a stock and I trade it, but I don't put it out there, guess what? It's not going to help anybody. So that's a big part. Remember, this is a team here. And then trades itself. Now, trades obviously are going to have a impact on what we're going to be looking for. All right, but I'm not worried about dollars and cents. Okay, so when I say trades, okay, let's say if you have $1 million, guess what? You're going to be able to make a lot more money than somebody that has $500. It's very simple. But the trades I'm talking about, we're talking about dollars and cents. All right, so when I say 50 cents, obviously you didn't make 50 cents, but the actual trades. All right, so if you make $3 on a trade, that's a huge deal. And that's a huge thing for you to be looking at. So that's the criteria that we're going to be going on, and it's starting today. So we're going to be going through all the profit and losses. That's going to be a big thing for us to look at, just because otherwise we're not going to really understand what the trades are. So I'm definitely excited about this. This is going to be our first week, and we will pick our winner on Friday. It's going to be a weekly thing. Also, on the Trader of the Week, we're going to be having a special spot that's going to be in there, just like we have the founder, or we're actually going to be switching channels, but I'll go over that tomorrow. But just like we have veteran traders and veteran options, the Trader of the Week is going to have their own classification for that week. They're going to get their own color, and they're also going to t-shirt that we have out there for winning. So definitely excited about this. Let's definitely start the competition going on. Obviously, no matter what, we're always going to be a team. As always, we're going to be a team, but teams that compete with each other eventually do even better than teams that don't. So we're going to start that little competition coming back in. And I think that's pretty much all that I have to say. All right, guys, so that is it for me. I'll be in the chat for the rest of the day. And of course, as I'm talking, CIFS is going to 350. We have Unit, which was a phenomenal call, but oh my Lord, beautiful call, Mariola. All right, guys, I'm going to hop in the chat and I will talk to everyone there. Happy trading.